Hello and good day to you, and welcome to another episode in the series of Impact. And as usual, we speak to our guests about the impact that has influenced their lives and how they're impacting others. And today we have a special guest with us. Her name is Denise Meade-Hill. And we just want to welcome Denise with us. Welcome, Denise.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Now, the audience might be watching or listening and wondering, who is Denise Meade-Hill? Tell us about Denise.
Right. Okay. Well, as I said, I really value the opportunity to appear on your program and just to share a little bit about myself. I am a career coach, supporting individuals with deciding on career change mainly, focusing on some of the areas that might be challenging for them. So I enjoy the process of change. My academic background is in science, and so that kind of provided the platform for me to explore, my fascination with the natural elements in biology and chemistry, and that kind of just reinforced that we are going through change all the time as natural, normal human beings. And it's the same in the professional way, in the professional life. As we develop and grow, it involves change. And so supporting individuals to engage with that change is something that I enjoy.
Well, so you are thinking about the changes of life, and you are into science, and of course, knowing how the body works and life works.
Yes.
You have now become a career coach, and I'm trying to see the connection between science and career coach.
Yeah.
How do you link the two?
Yeah, well, I suppose the kind of scientific element tells you about how people go through change, what are they experiencing? And change is very personal. So, how someone experiences, an event in their life that might impact on how they experience that change differs from somebody else who might be, going through a similar thing. And careers or jobs or any kind of professional context plays a large part in how we show up in the public space. So whether we're progressing in work, or feel that we're yet to achieve that personal goal or meet our aspirations, or you hear people talk about having that sense of purpose. Some of that is also part of the change process. In fact, when I see clients, one of the very first exercises I do with them is to explore a little bit, how do they experience change, and where are they on that change curve? Um, because some people could be elated, others could be feeling depressed or disappointed or still kind of stuck, right where that the first news about the change came about. So, we look at how individuals kind of decide what's the next step for them, because until you've come to terms with, what's happening with you in that moment, then it's very difficult to take that next step.
That's interesting, how you link that. But before I get into what you do now, the career
Yeah.
coach, and for you to tell us more about that,
Mm.
I want to know about what helped you or impacted you as a
Yeah.
child to go into the science.
Well, funnily enough, you should ask that question because my interest in science, I think it was something that I inherited. Um, Most of my maternal fam members of the family were involved in science, medicine in some way. My aunts, they were all nurses. I had family members who worked in, that space in hospitals. My mum herself, she was a nutritionist, having done, a science course at the time. And so I kind of took an interest in, what was happening in that space. And when I decided that I wanted to pursue, the sciences at school, I was encouraged to, look into it. So yeah, from an early age, I kind of had that interest in what was happening in the world around me, and then I got the support to be able to do that.
That's and that it's always key when I speak to my audience or speak to people. It's about those either the family or people, a special person that influenced them to take the path that they took as a young
Yeah.
person.
Mm,
You have mentioned about your family and your aunts and those
mm.
people who were in the medicine. Was there anybody that really said something or did something that really stood out apart from those?
Yeah.
The one person who influenced you the most?
Mm. Yeah, I think it was my aunt, my great aunt in particular. She was a maverick, I think. Um, because as we were growing up, she was always interested in a career in the nursing profession. She went right through to you know, she was a maternity well, that was a specialist
Yeah.
area, and a health visitor. And then she retired from nursing. Um, but then she decided at the age of 65
Mhm.
to go back into further education and do a degree in health and social care.
Oh.
And then she managed a number of care homes for over 15 years. So, when most people were thinking of retiring and kind of putting their feet up, she was on to the second part,
Mm.
well, third
Mm.
part of her career journey. And that kind of just really motivated me to, again, how do people experience change in their personal lives, in their professional life, in their physical life? Because, that's an age when a lot of people are contemplating, slowing down. But for her, she just had that drive to pursue an area of interest, and to achieve that outcome that she wanted. That was one of her aspirations. And so yeah, so I think her experience really just stood out for me and sort of indicated that it's never, first of all, it's never too late to
Yeah.
embark on change. And wherever you are, it's a good place to start. So when I speak with my clients, I say, okay, well, okay, we may not necessarily have achieved what you wanted to up until this moment, but we can always formulate your plan and, let's look at that.
That's at 65. I mean,
Yes.
I guess you don't really retire. That's the time when you want to do more because who wants to sit down and do nothing when you're used to doing so much? I can understand that. Although I'm not yet retired, but I can't see myself
Mm,
retiring to sit down. I was having a conversation with my daughter last night, and she
mm,
was like, "I don't want you to retire." I'm like, "I'm never going to retire. I'll keep working." Now, you talk about the changes and the coaching that you do.
mm,
And no doubt you had some great coaches in your life, your great grand aunt, as you said, and those people who you watch. So
mm.
coaching, correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes it's not just what you say, but what you do. Can be coached by your action. Would you say that's a true statement?
Yes, I think it's essential really for any, well, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a leader, anybody in that kind of space that they need to walk the talk.
Mhm.
So whether it's your employees or just people around you who are looking up to you, there will be assessing, how authentic are you, because you're indicating that your experiences so far or the things that you're pursuing, require a specific approach, maybe, and you want to see those behaviors exhibited in the space around you. Yeah, so definitely, I think people look to see what's the reality of what you're talking about. Is that something that's having the impact that you're anticipating?
Now, could you clarify what's
Hmm.
the difference between mentoring and coaching?
Oh goodness, yeah. That's quite a common question, and sometimes amongst even us as coaches, an area that
Yeah.
there's much debate. I would say coaching is a little bit more is more directive in terms of meeting those specific goals. So the client or the coachee would have clear, defined goals that they want to achieve, and those goals have a time frame. And as the coach who's working alongside them, it's about accountability, about keeping them on track, about clarifying sometimes any areas where there may be doubt or not necessarily and focus, creating that focus for the individual to achieve those outcomes. So mentoring, I think, is probably a more, walking alongside. So the coach, yes, do walk alongside the individual, but the mentor is there as a resource bank, I think. And usually your mentor is somebody who has had significant experience in the area that you are trying to move into. So you're benefiting from, that overall breadth of experience and expertise. Um, and they are there to kind of help you to think through, you know, I suppose, how you could maximize your own resources in order to achieve, whatever those long-term goals are.
Right. Yeah. I always wonder that question, and I still, trying to figure out the difference because sometimes I
Yeah.
wonder, am I a coach? Am I a mentor? What do I do?
Mm.
How do I fit into that space? But you do
Yeah.
this, for a business,
Hmm.
a coach. What do you do in a typical working? And in fact, before you go into that, tell me what brought you into coaching.
Yeah, I came into coaching because I was in a background where I was working with coaches, assigning coaches to people who were involved in, leaders within the organization that I was working for at the time, or people who were connected with us through the talent management program. So, seeing the impact at that leadership level and the contribution that the coaches made to those people involved in the talent management programs kind of triggered my interest in the individual's journey within the organization. Um, as a L&D consultant, learning and development, you are ideally working within the framework of the employer. So I was supporting individuals moving from different roles at the end of projects or programs into other areas within the organization according to their areas of interest. And I became interested in how people experience change within the organizations. Because for many of them, that they having gone through different experiences, they had grown within, those roles and were looking for more. So I decided, okay, well, I'd like to see a little bit more about how we can support, these individuals to move into maybe different areas of interests, to grow their skills, even to think about whether or not this was still the right area for them to work in. So I took the academic route to move into this area of interest, which means that I've re-qualified as a coach. I did a career coaching and counseling qualification, which kind of helped me to think about change from people's lifestyle and development, life stage development, because we all go through development routes at different points in our lives. And so, yeah, so that's what brought me into the coaching space as an area that I felt I wanted to develop my own expertise in.
As I look into your coaching panel book, which we'll talk a bit more later
All
on,
right.
but I notice on the bottom of most of the pages you have some powerful quote, and you started with start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. So you were starting where you are in that field. You saw
Yeah.
the impact that had on others. So you use what you had, the
Mhm.
knowledge you had, and you do what you could to
Yeah.
become one of those persons who are making an impact now. So what is a typical day work or for you? What do you do
Yeah.
typically with your work?
Okay. Yeah, well, the type of people that I normally work with are generally people who have had some kind of career experience. So I would say, late to mid career um, professionals who are seeking career change, whether that's into employment or self-employment. And those changes may be brought about through various means. So for some people, it could be, self-directed. They may decide that after 10, 15 years of being, in an organization, and in some cases, in one particular role, they may want to move on to something new, something different, something with a different audience. So, they're seeking some kind of development and change from what they've had over the past
Yeah.
years. And then some other people might experience that change because of restructuring within the organization. So it could be, they're now required to move into a new way of working within the business. And they're not technically wanting to move from the organization, but they're looking to see how they can develop and grow their experiences.
Yeah.
And then the other group of people might be people who have been made redundant because of the organizational restructuring or, other business, pressures. They may have to downsize. And so some people may be surplus to those roles and may have, being supported to leave the organization. And so particularly in previous years, over the past few years or so, there's not been that many redundancies. But we still do work with people in the outplacement space.
Yeah.
So so those are the type of people that I would typically work with. And in a session, I would say most of the issues might be about, evaluating the breadth of people's skills or strengths. I'm a strengths coach as well. I practice from that space because I always, I believe just as that, quote says, use what you have.
Yeah.
So, rather than focusing on what we don't have, which are sometimes the areas of weakness, doesn't mean that you don't have it, just means that you don't use it very often. But what do you have? So the strengths, what are your strengths? How can we uh, create a new experience for you to move into with this new evaluation of what you have going forward?
I wonder if you meet people probably like myself who, when you
Mm.
ask, what are my strengths? And
Mm.
you kind of doubt your strength. People might see the
Yeah.
strengths in you and you not seeing the strength. So how do you get that out of people who might not be sure
Mm.
what their strengths are?
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. I think people underestimate, their experiences through their whole life. Your strength isn't limited to just one experience with one employer or one project that you worked on or one exposure to whatever the area is. Um, your strengths could be something that you develop even just through your personal life in home, how you manage your family. I particularly see this with a lot of women who underestimate how their role as a mother, as a a home carer, a housekeeper, just normally functioning in your everyday life, they don't take those skills into account. But yeah, I think how do we identify that? One of the things that I do is we need evidence.
Mhm.
So I go the scientific route and
Okay.
I base my assessments on a psychometric exercise.
Okay.
So candidates are asked to complete an exercise and the formulation, it's a 60 question questionnaire that they complete. And then the results from that, we discuss what those actually mean for them. And that kind of sets the scene for further discussion.
So you
Then
say, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, then we look at, how can we kind of evaluate those strengths according to the outcomes that you've achieved. It's very all well and good to say these are your strengths, but you have to what evidence do you have?
Right.
So we collate whether it's verbal evidence or measured evidence. They may have statistics, lots of us working in roles where we have to evaluate the benefit of our
Yeah.
work. So you have some metrics, whether it's qualitative. So somebody said, you did a good job. So
Okay.
50% of the people that you came into contact with said that, the experience with this individual was off the chart. Or you've got, the quantitative bit that says, you achieved your KPIs over a period of time. Most roles have, both of those. So
Right.
we look at all of that and then, talk through how those strengths now can enable you to position yourself for new roles or to demonstrate alignment with, the businesses that are advertising the jobs that you might be interested in or the next experience that you might want to go into.
Okay. So in a typical coaching session or the full coaching remit, how long would that last? Is there a time frame? You do it 1 year, 2 year, or is it an ongoing thing?
Yeah, yeah. Um, it's really led by the individual. So some people might say, I need to, it depends on what the demands are really. Some people might say, I need to get back into a job, within the next 6 months, 3 to 6 months, because I've allocated, my budget to enable me to manage during that period. So it depends on what their commitments are. Um, Others might say, I'm looking for a specific type of role. So, that might take a little bit longer because they'll have to do some investigation as to whether those jobs are being advertised, or whether they might have to do some further networking to access their resources to identify those jobs.
Okay.
Um, or whether they might be looking for, a different type of experience. And so if they're still working internally, they might be crafting those experiences so that they're doing more of what they like in the role. And that also helps to develop, their skill set for um, further movement.
Do you find that most people are doing this or getting the coaching because of the external factors, i.e., they're made redundant or they have to, or is it that people are actively looking for change and realizing that they're in a job that is not satisfying, that they have spent 20 years and they're still not feeling as if they're making an impact and want to make changes? And which one of these
Yeah.
individuals are the easier one, maybe, or the harder one
Mm.
to take through the journey?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good insight there. I think I've noticed over the past few years, and definitely since COVID, people have been definitely more proactive about what they want from a career experience when we talk about, careers in the professional sense. Um, because first of all, COVID, I think, threw up for a lot of people that in their satisfaction with either their current employer or how much they were giving to the role, and not necessarily gaining that satisfaction. Um, and lots of people were also looking to work in a different way. So flexibility is one of the areas that now pop up quite a lot. Um, either in terms of physical space, or in terms of how the work is delivered,
Yeah.
or in terms of the type of people that they want to work with. So, those are areas. I would say asked about which ones would be easier to work with. That's a difficult one. I would say, from my experience, anybody who's proactive and actively wants to take, that next step, and committed to the work, are, easier to work with.
Mhm.
Um, but different challenges along the way. Um,
What are some of those challenges?
some of those challenges might be about people's mindset,
Mm,
self-belief. Do they actually believe that, having taken the decision to, move into this new area of work or new area of interest, that, they can successfully make that move, um, or that they can present their uh, their experiences to date in a way that would be valuable to a new employer. Sometimes people don't put the value on, their combined expertise to date. They might just think, oh, well, I only did this little thing.
mm,
Sometimes that little thing makes a big difference. So, don't be afraid to talk about it,
yeah.
and to show where, through your involvement, um, that piece of work got done much better and to a higher degree, or reached a new audience than you might if you weren't there. So yeah, it's helping people to see the value of what they've got.
So as a coach and a counselor, you have to do some counseling in terms of getting that mindset, that positive thinking going
Yeah.
before you can really make an impact on the
Mm.
coaching side of things. So it's good to have both of those together.
Yes, definitely. And building their confidence for
Mhm.
change as well, because some individuals, they might have always had that kind of struggle going on. And so they're thinking, oh, well, yeah, I really want to move into this area of work, but I don't feel confident in showing up publicly,
Mhm.
or in, I'll just get on with the work behind the scenes, and somebody will notice, rather than them saying, what
Here I
they're
am.
able to do. Here I am.
Mhm.
I can,
Yeah.
and I would like to put your hands up, be identified.
Yeah, I think, I can identify with that,
Mm.
where you know you want to move out and, I always wondered about people who want to make that switch, that career change,
Mm.
but because of the responsibilities of life and,
Mm.
you hear the phrase let go and let God, so you need to jump, and
Mm.
you hear about, many successful people who have jumped, just
Yeah.
decide one day I'm finished with this and I'm going to move on.
Mm.
They have made it, but for a person who is thinking about all the responsibilities and what if, that
Mm.
what if question, what if it doesn't work out, how am I going to bounce back, and how would you help those
Yeah.
people? What would you say to those people?
Yeah, I think managing those kind of niggly
Mm.
saboteurs, I call them, because they're kind of sabotaging your efforts to move on. Um, is trying to get the voice of reason, the voice of wisdom to speak louder than those negative voices. So yes, okay, what if it doesn't work out the way that I envisage? Well, the fact is that you have a set of skills. So if that doesn't work, you then you start using those problem solving skills or decision making skills, or you analyze where you are, assess what the outcomes could be, and then have another go. um, it goes back to biology. It's much the same as when we were
Mm.
learning to walk. As children, you learn, as a baby, you learn to walk. You stand up, you'll wobble a bit, fall over, get up again. It's all a process of change, incremental steps, taking one step at a time. And if the task feels really huge and unwieldy, then you just break it down into its component parts and go with that
Step by step.
step by step. Yes. Yeah.
I can see how you have constantly through this conversation intertwined and interweave your scientific knowledge, your science approach to this, which is a testament to what you're saying, is that you use what you have, what you know, to what you're doing, and
Mm.
how it, those, as you mentioned in your book, those transferable skills, um,
Yeah.
you use to impact. Now, you have
Mm.
been doing this for how long?
Yeah, so I've been in this space for about 10 years now. I started when I did my qualification for coaching, I was still employed, and so unofficially,
Yeah.
I started internally then, but I then went into private practice in 2010, so 12 years now.
Oh, so it's a
Um,
long time.
so it's a little while,
Yeah,
yes, yeah.
yeah. So you would have like had a vast experience in getting these sort of things done. Just
Mm.
before you tell me about the impact, some of the impact you have seen, I just wondered how you would compare the past 10 years,
Mm.
probably before the COVID to now, in terms of technology and the
Mm.
impact that has, because when you make these transitional changes, or you also have to think about how important technology is, and
Yeah.
having to probably bring your clients up to speed or in line with how to use technology. How does that
Mm.
impact your work?
Yeah, I would say that definitely there's been a greater demand for technological knowledge, even if you're not applying it. But to be honest, I don't think many of us can get away with not being, technologically literate
Yeah.
now. Um, an administrator's job now would involve some element of updating a website page. So you need to, know how to go in and do some of those editing. Um, you might be using some of these apps that, for video conferencing that we now take for granted. Back 10 years ago, this was still very much the domain of the IT specialist.
Yeah.
Now, an administrator's role is to know how to navigate their way around Zoom and Teams and, Moodle and Slack and, all of the other um, apps that helps with communicating, across teams and remotely as well. There's a lot of remote working now, so this is even more vital. Um, in terms of developing those skill sets, sometimes it might need you thinking, do I need to invest in maximizing those skills if I want to move into a role where that's an area that I'm going to be trying to explore.
Yeah.
Social media is another area. Again,
Hmm.
most organizations now, they have a Facebook page, they have, they're on LinkedIn, they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram.
Yeah.
They use all these different medium to reach their audience. And so for the people who are managing that behind the scenes as employees, or even if you're going into self-employment, you need to know, how am I going to get my message out there?
Mm.
And so either you'll have to know how to access that information, or you'd have to buy in those services. But either way, there's going to be a discussion around technology.
Yeah.
Now, in recent months, it's been, all the talk has been about AI,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
and that's becoming increasingly a real experience for people who are working in that space. So whether it's Chat GPT, whether it's the accessing um,
Grammarly or
other tools. Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
I
Lots
mean,
of other tools.
I always say, we have been using AI a long time, just
Yes,
that,
yeah,
it's more advanced and we need to
yes.
take more advantage of that. It's not
Mhm.
seeing it as something bad. Yes, with
Exactly.
anything you can get the good or the bad, but you just need to use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
How have you yourself navigated that transition as you do that? Because I'm sure with your coaching, you before 10 years ago, you're probably seeing clients one to one, now you can do
Yes.
online. So how else have that you benefited from that?
Yeah, precisely. And I think I've benefited in the sense that it has enabled me to reach a wider audience.
Mhm.
So I'm not limited by my local area, or by, up in London, where I would normally have seen my clients face to face in an office somewhere in London. I can now, connect with people overseas. One of my clients, she traveled to Nigeria, and we were able to have a coaching session while she was there. And, I've now regularly talked to people around the country. So it's definitely, I think, enhanced, the reach of my service. Although I'm a people person and I like being in the same room, you can't deny the effectiveness
Yeah.
of the platform like the one that we're using today.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, and I mean, this is a perfect example of how you are going to be re able to reach more people by them just watching and hearing about what you
mhm,
do. And, a lot of people out there are thinking, how can I make that transition, or have been thinking
mhm,
about it for a long time. They can be in touch with you.
mhm.
Um, so tell us some of the successes and the highlights of your career, of this coaching career so far.
Yes, yeah. Oh goodness. Everybody's I suppose experience is very different with me. One that stood out for me was a an individual who I worked with, and she was 12 years in a role that she had come to, using her words, detest. Um, and it got to a point, I mean, we kind of chuckle around that, but it got to a point where she was dreading going into work, and that should never,
Mhm.
ever be anyone's experience of employment. But unfortunately, it does happen. She decided that she was going to leave, and she definitely needed some support to enable her to um, just shift things around a bit, because she had previously had the conversation with the existing manager. She had then discovered that that wasn't going to work. So she made several attempts to apply for jobs elsewhere, but nothing ever worked out. So, she was referred to me by a networking contact, and we started our work together. And within what was it, about 3 months, 8 weeks, 8 weeks, coming up to that 12-week period, um, we identified, just as I said, her strengths, what are the areas that she was interested in, the things that she did well, how could she demonstrate those transferable skills now to a new area of interest? And also, how did she want to formulate her new persona moving forward? Because she wanted to leave that whole area that she was in behind and move into a totally new area of interest. So her background was in the medical field. Um, she had an interest in well, not medicine per se, but in the scientific
Yeah.
area. But she wanted to combine that with IT, the
Mhm.
technological side of things, and learning and education. So IT, education, science. So those are the three areas that we explored. And, through her own efforts in upskilling herself, the type of work that she was doing tirelessly for the organization that she was working with, and not being recognized for it. So the learning side of
Mhm.
things and the IT, um, she was able to reposition herself as a credible candidate for a role that came up. I helped with the job search, and then we prepared for the interview. Um, well, first of all, we designed her CV, because her CV had to be refocused to now highlight the skill sets that aligned with the type of roles that she was looking for. So we worked on that. We worked on her LinkedIn profile. So again, recruiters will be able to identify the new direction in which she was going and what her new personal brand was. And then she was offered an interview after applying. We found a role, applied for it, and she got offered the interview. It was supposed to be a two-stage interview. After the first stage, they offered her the role. They said,
Oh.
well, you know, and that just took us both by surprise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they said that they had interviewed other candidates, but just the way that she came across confidently, she was prepared for the questions. She had done her research about the organization. She identified where her qualifications mapped onto the new business, the skills, her IT skills were a good fit for the role and the direction in which they were going and wanted to discuss to reach that
Yeah.
new audience. Um, and then her expertise um, had a solid grounding. So she was able to, just across those three areas to demonstrate that she was a good fit for the role. And
Well,
so, yeah, I think that's the fastest one that I'd experienced, and it was really good to be able to be part of that journey with her
so
because after 12 years.
yeah, yeah. So you not only just do coaching, you do job search, you'd help with CVs, you do the whole thing. So it's a buddy for life then, it seems like.
Yes, yes, definitely. Yeah, I mean the coaching is supported through framing, how that person could now then present themselves
Mm,
in a new area of interest,
okay.
according to, whatever their values might be, according to what their aspirations are. We look at and see how that could be presented. And so, yes, I do help with the tools to enable them to do that.
I didn't even realize that, in the coaching you go that far and that deep into
Mm.
supporting your clients.
Yeah,
So
I think that's the difference with careers work because
mm,
the career element is very much focused around achieving a successful outcome for the candidate, whether it's in terms of repositioning themselves in a new light or applying, having a particular outcome. And, that could be applying for a job because they need to be in employment. So,
yeah, so that's the key thing between the career coaching and just
yeah,
a normal coaching. Right.
yes.
So if there's anyone listening and watching and thinking, I've known people who are in the NHS or in
Mm,
education and they have been, but for I want for a better word, unsatisfied and has been in
mm.
it for 10, 15, 20 years and
Yeah.
still growing gray and wanting to make that change, but is not
Mm.
confident. What advice can you give them and what
Yeah.
your support is there?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would say advice is think about the areas that identifies your strengths and try and incorporate that into your existing role. Do more of that. Because you get that kind of job satisfaction, from knowing that you're working in an area where your skills are being developed, but also used to, your full capacity. Look for opportunities to contribute to a specialist area. Sometimes, I think one of the things too that may affect people, they might be in what's called a generalist role. And so they do a little bit of everything, but not enough of anything. And
Yeah.
so it's difficult for them to stand out, although, they're probably doing really good work. So if you're looking for career progression and you think that this is an area that you want to focus on, look for an area of specialism or an area of expertise where you could volunteer for a project or to contribute to a developmental area using your strengths or some of your skills. So, just be on the lookout for those opportunities as they come up. I would say another thing would be keep a learning log or a development log. And so that you have a portfolio of work that you've done that you could communicate to other
Okay.
people. A lot of the times, when people are thinking about experiences that they've had, after a while, it starts to become hazy and you can't exactly remember, what your contribution was. How did you move that work on? What the context was that you were working in? Was it something particularly challenging? Was it something that you inherited that you had to resolve? Or was it a new area, where you kind of finding new ground and developing that. So what was your contribution? And the more you write that down, the more you become aware of how first of all you can continue to contribute, but also of the kind of skill sets that you're using. So, I think those are three things that I would say right now people can do.
Okay. Now, you mentioned in your book also that your mom and your dad taught you the value of faith and hard work. We talk about the work already. How does faith play an impact on career change and people who you
Yeah.
have seen and work with?
Mm. Mm. I definitely think faith stands plays a huge role. Whether or not you're thinking about it in the spiritual sense or as something that guides you through your life. Faith is about having that self-belief that things will work out. And if you put the work in, I know this, some people may say, oh yeah, well, I've been working really hard
Mhm.
and I haven't seen anything happen yet,
Yeah.
But the outcome of that is if you don't do any work, then you won't see any outcomes.
Mhm.
So having that belief in the outcome that you're working towards. And I'm a woman of faith, so I believe that there's a higher power
Yeah.
that guides our sense of purpose, here amongst the people that we come across. So, wherever you have the opportunity to do good work, then I believe that we should all always go for it and do it to the best of your ability.
Yes, yes. So I've talked about a lot about your book. So I'm sure that is one of those advice you would give. You didn't say that, but how can your career planner that you have, and you can tell us about a career planner and what it is entail, how can that be a part of the journey for transition?
Yes, yes. Okay. Yeah, I mean the career planner I think came about because I think many people don't really, I think, give sufficient focus and attention to what their career pathways are going to be. For whatever reason, it's happened to lots of us. It's happened to me. You fall into a job, and we've got to earn a living, and you just kind of keep doing it, and then before you know it, you've been there 10 years and you're not really thought much about okay, well, where is this role taking me? What am I contributing? What am I getting out of it? I know I'm getting a salary, but is that it? So I thought, the career planner is a way for people to be more intentional about what they want out of their professional lives, because we're doing it for, I think the statistics was we spend 40 hour, well, yeah, we spend 40 hours a week, um, some people more,
Mhm.
doing a job.
Yeah,
So the onus is on us to make sure that we are in a place where we can at least enjoy part of that.
yeah.
So having a career plan is, I think, quite important. And it helps them to think through the practical elements of meeting those career aspirations that you've set for yourselves, defining what your career goals might be, and knowing a little bit about yourself in the process. I think very often we don't take that time to kind of know about, well, what do I want from a career? Everybody else wants something. Um, um, from me. I've got my manager, and I go into my manager wants me to produce this piece of work. My family needs me to earn some money. The other people, around you are depending on you for whatever the case, whatever they might want. But what do you want?
Yeah.
And so, the planner kind of just says, and that's why I think the first bit that I start with is start with why, begin with you.
Hmm.
What do you know about yourself? What are your beliefs? What are your motivations? What are your values? What are the things that stand out for you in a role that's going to keep you connected to that area?
Yeah, I realize, going through the book, it
Mhm.
has a lot of questions for you to really think deep about
Yes.
yourself and what you
Mhm.
want. And you ask those questions that, you're afraid to answer, but I think your planner will help anybody who wants to do this to write down their thoughts and ideas in their own way. Nobody have to
Yes.
see it, and then it can give you a reflection, and you have bits of really good goal
Mhm.
setting and in that. So I would recommend this book to anybody who is thinking about making that change. I'm
Mhm.
using it myself to just answer some of the questions that I'm in that space where
Yeah.
I'm making that transition myself. So
Okay.
it's good to have something like this to kind of
Mhm.
help you along the journey.
Mhm.
Um, Tell us, where can they get this book and get more information
Oh,
about
right.
you?
Yeah, okay. Thanks for that. Yes. Well, the book is available on Amazon, so people can go and order it there. Or through the podcast, you can get in touch with me. You can get in touch with me via Craig, and I'm giving a special listener offer
Hmm.
at the moment as well. And the offer will be available until the end of this month. So um, it's available on Amazon for 19.99. The listener offer is 15.99.
Okay. So
So
if you're listening, if you're watching and
yes,
you want a copy of this book, get in touch with me before
yes.
the end of this month, and you can get a copy of that book. It's called The Career Planner by Denise Meade-Hill,
Mhm.
and you can search for that on Amazon, and you can
Yes,
get a copy of that book for 15.99, and you can
yes.
get a discount. And if you need to get in contact, do you have a social media
I do,
website?
yes, yeah, yeah. So my website is www.careertransitionsdmh.co.uk. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm there as Denise Meade-Hill, career coach. I'm on Instagram. Again, instagram.com/ Denise Meade-Hill _career coach. And I'm on Facebook as Transitions Career Management. Uh, and yeah, you can connect with me there as well.
So there you have it. You can get in touch with Denise anytime you feel like,
Yeah,
and if you
yeah.
have in that space where you want to make that transition and get some help in,
Mm,
whether you're being made redundant, you're looking for a new part of life, or you just want to career change and want to see how you can step out, grow your confidence, believe. The last note on in your book, it says, we can all change, grow, and progress through effort, application, and experience. So it's available for you to take up that opportunity. And any last word you want to say, Denise, to the audience?
yeah, I would say that con- oh goodness me, I'm just connecting back with my science again. That this is a good time for change. April. It signifies spring. It signifies, shaking off those winter blues. Getting your growth, and just utilizing the resources that are there for you. Even if you're not ready to do anything yet, just start to get those thought processes in place. Really just I think make the most of what life has to offer. We're here on this earth for a short time. We got to enjoy it.
Yeah, and do you do coaching or career talks to young
Hmm.
ones, children in schools?
Yes, I do. I do. I do go into schools, mainly secondary schools,
Hmm.
I have to say, and usually focused on year 12 upwards. So year 12, 13, where they're starting to make those decisions about GCSEs, or A levels, or uni if they're going on to university. So yeah, if there are any listeners out there who are thinking that they might welcome me to come in and have a talk with their pupils or students, or even just a youth group. I'm happy
Yeah.
to go to youth groups as well and do this kind of talk, because I think it's valuable to
Yeah.
invest in the next generation.
And I think,
Mm.
you can even go lower because my daughter is just turning 12 and she's already thinking
Ah,
about career and asking about university and questions about
wow,
what you need
good.
to do. So I
Yeah,
think generation now are, getting into that space that they need to
yeah.
know where the direction. So yeah, do look out for that. So I just wanted to say, Denise, it was a great pleasure meeting you at the business show and even having
Yes.
those conversation and connecting with you. And it was a great conversation we had. I've learned a bit more about coaching. I've learned a bit more about, the impact of science and life and coaching. And, I just want to thank you for joining us and being with us today.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciated the time here too, to talk about something that I love. So that was great for me.
Okay. So there you have it. Impact, where life makes changes and changes makes life. So thank you for joining us today, and we see you in the next series. Thank you. Bye.